To begin with, speaking about development institutions, you need to understand the task they're working on. And I don't think it's mentioned anywhere, it's stipulated anywhere, but I believe the development is about developing the economy, and the innovative development strategy, as defined by the ministry and approved by the government, contains specific KPIs for the share of a technological economy in the national GDP. That's one side. The other side is that the work of these development institutions depends a lot on the institutional environment and the investment and business climate. Something that, by the way, in the course of this voting, the results of which are very close to my personal convictions, I have seen this very clearly. Unless you have a relevant investment and business climate and the basic institutions not impeding the economic development, no development institution can be efficient. Therefore, as regards the presentation of the results of the study, I have mixed feelings because I have issues with the methodology and the specific data. Something was missed, some data was inaccurate, but it's not that bad because this is a preliminary version. And then the methodology. You look at everything using the push model when you consider the so-called linear chain of science, commercialization, business. In fact, the technological business works not according to this model. It works in the opposite model of when first there's a demand from the market, and the science, in a sense, creates a ambient environment conducive to the creation for specific economy, specific products, a minor, very tiny portion of scientific discoveries are taken that are the basis of technical and technological products that define the development of the economic development. So I would view these things from a totally contrary perspective, and the way the study formulated the problem, it makes it even more complicated. It means that we are unable to hear what the market is saying. We have a huge demand in this country for high-tech products, while the Russian economy does not fails to meet this requirement, this demand. For example, mobile telephony, the growth rates and the advances in the use of mobile communications are much higher than than the average world levels, and we have a national producer to develop the entire system. The Russian economy is not correlated in any way with the market demand. This is a systemic issue to be resolved. This is a need of the demand of the market, and the Russian national and global thing. In this respect, what was said about internationalization, I support this, and I believe this is a very relevant task today, because in a modern technological economy, there are no successful products or services targeted at national markets. They're always global. They always meet the needs of the people, which are about the same all around the world. So, despite my issues with respect to this study's methodology, I still agree almost totally with the conclusions, because what it says in conclusions and recommendations, they coincide almost literally with our development programs that we're being implementing here. And then RBC for a number of years has been having its internal study on an annual basis. It's not as large scale as the one presented here today. But still, this year we've interviewed some 60 people from the leading in our, as we see it, players from categories like our own stakeholders, representatives of other development institutions, ministry, people from the venture business, uh, leaders of Russian high-tech companies. And besides, we completed this internet poll, open for our internet audience, and we have collected a few hundred responses. And the tasks solved here are slightly different from the ones in the research, in this study. Questions were slightly different. But still, the question is, why are we doing this? We want to understand the current priorities for ourselves as regards our work for next year and see the dynamics of change. Well, the study is not over yet. We're on the business planning stage, but the preliminary results are already clear. So according to our results, financing is not even on the top 10 priorities. And the first 3 priorities that we've heard identified by almost everyone are coordination of development institutions, incentivizing of demand for innovations, and the development of the ecosystem. Stimulating and the promotion of ecosystem are the 2 things that depend on the development institutions and the business environment, because there's no other significant vehicle to incentivize a highly competitive environment in the world. This is a everything else is a partial way to resolve the issue, and we need to be we need to reform the institutions in earnest. We should become more and more transparent. It is very well known that one of the impeding barriers are in restrictions like customs, currency regulations, visas. Come on, these are obvious things. If we are to improve the attractiveness of Russia for science, at least for international conferences in Russia, can't you make it a visa-free entry for academics coming here? This is a very elementary. Football players can come in, and people who are part of the international world development elite need to spend months to obtain an entry visa. This is a shame. How can you expect Russia to become an innovative center if you cannot even hold a scientific conference? And this is just one example of hundreds of other instances. Measures needed are radical for development institutions to be taken. And then the objective is set. It's formulated in the presidential decree to go from the to move from number 120 to number 20 in 10 years. No, in 6 years. Yes, in 6 years already. As regards the business environment. Okay, in the last year we had this big step. We somehow moved from number 120 to number 112. Well, I'm sorry, but there's still 92 more points left to overcome, and we have very specific restricting control. We need to open everything to raise attractiveness. I just can't see it possible. I can't imagine how this can be done. We have this objective for 25 million highly productive jobs to be created in the economy over the same period. How can you create highly productive jobs when you have this institutional environment and these restrictions on the business that exist in this country? I'm sorry for being so emotional about it, but I am strongly convinced that there are a number of absolutely fundamental points of principle. There will be no financing. No financing will be efficient unless you have the required business environment. What we're doing in terms of financing today is wasting people's money.